Chapter 10. By mid-morning, the searchers were leaving Rodwell Abbey with Skipper and his two stalwart otter mates acting as guards. The party was composed mainly of grown-up creatures, like Riggum and Binkle, with Riggum and Binkle hemmed neatly in the middle of the shrews, still protesting at being excused from their tart-baking duties. Apomodemus locked the gates behind them and called up to the north ramparts. He stood watching his creatures trudge away to the path until it cut off at an angle into Mossflower. The going was fair as they kept a leisure pace through the woodlands. Lug grew, and the gals and shrews knew the exact location where they had found the two Dibbins. This took a lot of guesswork out of the route. Crinkless tramped alongside the shrew leader. Do you happen to know what that old galsum song, Foodle Come Dur, I think it's called? I heard one of your beasts singing it when you visit the abbey last year. I like it. Lug kept his eyes on the path. Even if I did, I couldn't sing it, old un. I'm more of a dancer than singer. Hoy, Burl, you know that, and don't you? Foot'll come dur. Sing it out good and loud for us. Burl, a smallish, skinny-looking shrew, but he had a voice like a foghorn. He sang out clear. Young Foot'll come dur, I do declare. What a fanciful little shrew. With waxy grease he curled his fur and wore a great coat of blue. His ma was never ever so fond of him, and that lest his paws should bruise, she made for him from aspen skin a brand new pair of shoes. Well, pickle me fur, I tell you, sir. Do you believe the news? Oh, what to do, a galsum shoe, clumping around in shoes, with laces green, the best you've ever seen, and silver bells each end. He strutted here and swaggered there and jiggled about no end, till Footlecum took off his shoes and paddled and went one day. Then a big old owl, the thieving fool, swooped down and stole them away. So now in the night, if you wake with fright, a strange sound in the air, 'tis only that bird that you have heard in the shoes of Foodlecum Dur. To wit, to woo, a ding-dong chomp. He's dancing around there, pursuing by shrew crying out, Hey you! Those are the shoes of Foodlecum Dur. Riggum thought the song was hilarious and shook Burl's paw. Gertly sing, sir. Foodlecum Dur, you were a silly beast. It was some time before mid-noon when Lug called a halt. This is about where we found the little ones. Let's have lunch and see if they can tell us which way they went from here to find the big old tree with the door on it. Malbum and Creaculus doled out barley furls, soft white cheese, and flasks of pale cider. Both were glad to be rid of the extra weight they had been carrying. Skipper split up his furl and packed it with cheese. Before he took a bite, he called the two Dubbins to his side and questioned them. Me old mates, do you know where the old oak is from here? Binkle gestured in a wide arc nonchalantly. East, north, west, or south, I think. Crinkless could not help wagging a stern paw at her. East, north, west, and south? That's a great help. Well, what do you have to say for yourself, Riggum? The little mole clapped his paw together and chortled. Her. Oh, I do like ye song about Freckleum Gurzer. Malbum struck the mole babe's velvet head. Crinkless means, do you know the way to the oak tree where you and Binkle sheltered from the storm? Riggum answered candidly. Oh, I can't be saying, marm. It were dark and gurtly rainy, ye see. 'Tain't good for finding ye way about in the dark rainy weather, born no. Sister Vernal's murmur was audible. They'd have been more useful in the kitchen's baking tarts. Malbum was about to say something when she was knocked suddenly backwards by a big dark bird, which had zoomed down without warning. She clutched her chin and cried out, Arr, what was that? After one following like lightning pecked the cheese from Girdle Spink's paw. He swiped at it, missed. The bird swooped away in the trees and made a chorus of harsh cawing. Skipper roared to his two otters and shrews. Crows and a whole gang of the villains. Protect the two babes, mates. I ain't got a sling. Any beast carrying slinging stones with them? Lug drew his rapier, casting an eye at the treetops. The big dark feathered scavengers were massing in the branches, watching the Redwallers menacingly. The galsum leader kept his voice low and spoke calm. My shoes never brought slings along, not that chucking stones would do much good. There's too many of 'em. It looks like we're in for real trouble, mates." Girdle rubbed at the deep scratches on his paw. "Those birds are after our victuals. 'Tis the food they want. What do you think, Skip?" The otter nodded. He formed a plan in his mind as he spoke. "Aye, I think you're right, mate. We can't stand and fight. They've got us outnumbered. Best thing we can do is get out of here safe and sound. Log, you and your shrews will be up front where we go. Keep the 2 Devons, old Crinkles, and sister Vernal with you. Malbin, Girdle, and the rest, you stay close behind him. Me and 2 of my otter crew will cover your backs." Skipper slid casually over to where the 2 food packs were lying. Sliding his javelin through their handles, he lifted them cautiously off the ground. The crows began to cry out with renewed harshness. Skipper warded off 2 of them with a swipe of his rudder. They perched boldly on a raised tree root nearby. Hopping around in the high branches, the rest of the crows dropped down to the lower boughs threateningly. Skipper kept keen eyes flicked from side to side, assessing the situation fully. He spoke gently to his friends. "Listen now, you start moving out. Slowly does it. But when you hears me shout Radwell, then go as fast as your paws will carry you. Log, get out of the woods and tune the path as quick as you can. Now get going, easy like." As soon as the party tried to shuffle off quietly, the crows dropped even lower, cawing agitatedly. Skipper distracted the birds' attention by grabbing the food packs and laughing loudly. "Har, har, har, ye winged vermin. It's what you want. Fresh bread and good soft cheese. I'll wager there's a few little cakes in these packs too. Let's take a look, eh?" Loosening the straps on the 2 small knapsacks, he swung them opposite directions from the retreating redwallers. There were cakes and candy chestnuts too, a whole lot, together with bread, cheese, cider, and a cider flask. Scattering wholesale, bouncing off tree trunks and spilling into shrubbery, squawking and pecking at one another, the scavenging crows fought amongst themselves as they pounced on the food. Skipper threw back his head and roared, "Redwall!" Stunning the birds on his path, thwacks from his javelin, he took off after the main party, who was now plunging headlong into the woodlands. Riggum and Binkle had not been scared since the crow's first appearance, surrounded by big, growing-up redwallers. They felt perfectly safe. Binkle swept along, 2 shrews holding her paws. Lifting both footpaws from the ground, she had good fun. Riggum ran on his own for a while, and then stumbled and fell. Before he could be alarmed, the main body passed by him, but he swept up into Skipper's powerful shoulders. Grabbing the otter's ears, the mole babe hung onto him, girdling. Her. E be's a girt game. Can ye go faster, sir? Skip?" By the sound of the crows behind him, Skipper could tell that they had decimated the food packs. Keeping their eyes on the path ahead, he assured the incorrigible mole babe, "Aye, mate, we best step up the pace. Those birds will be coming after us soon. Move up here, mates, faster." Some of the older creatures were panting hard, so Skipper's 2 otter crewmates and the galsome shrews gadly lent helped paws to speed them on their way up the path. Now the crows were on their trail, their raucous calling echoed louder as they approached. Girdle Spring slowed his pace, allowing Skipper to catch up with him. The sailor hog glanced over his shoulder, puffing and panting. "Can't go much further, Skip. You go on. I'll stand here and make a stand for us. Should hold 'em off for a while." Skipper shoved the end of the javelin in the hedgehog's paws. "No such thing, mate. Who'd left the good brew, good ale, and the cordials for the abbey? See, there's a path up yonder. Grab hold of the javelin with me. We'll run together." Riggum reached up and patted Girdle's spike head. "Yer come on, Zer. Us'ns won't leavin' 'ee behind." Log was first on the path. He shouted to his shrews as they hurried out of the woodlands. "Grab some stones, Gazum. We'll show these scurvy scum." More redwallers poured out onto the open path as they took the shrews' advice. They gathered pailfuls of rough stones. A big crow was flying up ahead, Skipper, homing in on the back of Riggum's neck, when a stone struck him square in the beak. Other crows found themselves pelted with a lively salvo of large pebbles and chunks of rock. Skipper was last, but finally he made it to the path. Lifting Riggum down, he picked up stones and began whizzing them off at the angry crows with amazing accuracy, chuckling wolfishly. "Har, har, buggos! Come and chew on some of this." but the crows would not leave the tree cover, knowing they would be at a disadvantage on open ground. They took back to the branches, hopping awkwardly about and calling harshly disapproval of their would-be quarry tactics. Old Prinkless was a surprisingly good rock thrower. He knocked a crow clean out of the tree with his first try. "You great filthy cowards! How do you like some of your own medicine, eh? Here's try for this for size." The unexpected retaliation was too much for the crows, and they quickly retreated back to the safety of the woods. Skipper hooked his rider under Righam's smock cord, hauling him back to the mulberry as the mulberry went to chase after crows with rocks he could scarcely carry. "Cease fire, old mate. We've sent 'em packing." Righam rolled his rock off the tree and dusted his pulse. He shouted after the distant calling birds. "You're in, don't 'ee come back, or I'll give 'ee Billy Oi, you girt villainy rascals." The remainder of the journey was uneventful. Skipper and his party reached the Abbey in time for afternoon tea. Appomattox opened the gates for them. "Great seasons, you look as if you'd been through some sort of adventure. What happened, my friends? Tell me." Skipper made his report as they strolled across the lawns to the Abbey. Father Abbot reflected on the story. "No treasures found today, but some lessons learnt. Well, no great harm done. You're all back safe and sound, just in time for afternoon tea, I might add." Sister Vernal smiled eagerly, for tea time was her special favorite. "Oh, good, blackberry cream tarts." Appomattox shook his head woefully as they entered the Abbey. "Please, sister, don't even mention blackberry cream tarts to me. They'll haunt my dreams for seasons to come." Melbourne stifled a smile. What happened? Did something go wrong with the Dubbins tart baking? The Abbot was still shaking his head with despair. Did anything go right? It was the Dab organization. You remember, Dibbins against bedtime. Or some pretext or other that they got Mem and Formal out of the kitchens. Then the rascals ran back and bolted themselves in. Come and see. When they arrived at the kitchen door was off its hinges. Gooch the cook and his assistant, Furl, was sorting through a selection of damaged tools they had borrowed from the wine cellars to unscrew the hinges. Girdle Spring clapped his eyes on his brow. "Oh, corks, is that my best bunk spike? Look, it looks like a confounding corkscrew." Mem Fleckery emerged from the kitchen, spattered from ear to tail with blackberry preserve and meadow cream. "Steady on, old lad, don't blame poor Gooch. 'Twas me who borrowed your gear. 'Fraid we had to, what? The little cads locked us out. We had to break back in, or the jolly old kitchens would never be the same again." Crinkless peered into the chaos that had been caused. Looks like they took to decorating the place with flour, preserve, and cream. Where are the Dubbins now? Formal wiped flour from his snout. "Well, I got 'em all locked up in the vegetable store, sir. Took more life and more paws doing it. Them was fierce infants." Skipper called to two outer crew to support him as guards. "Right, shipmates, let's parade these fierce infants out and see what they got to say for themselves." Some of the Dibbins were so coated with baking ingredients they were unrecognizable. Melbourne pointed out to one that looked like he could be a mole. "You there, stand up straight and take your paws out of that apron pocket. What's your name? Speak up." The Dibbin licked cream from his chin. "Oi, Rubel, marm." Friar Gooch pointed accusingly at him. "Rubel, that's him. He was the ringleader." Melbourne Grimp stared at the line of bespattered babes. "You know what you're going to do now, don't you?" A small voice murmured, "Hup to bed, marm." Mem roll-eyed Rubel. "Well, that's jolly. Tell him he's jolly well wrong. Explain to me what you wrenches are going first. What? Rubel scuffed a football across the floor, leaving a smear of blackberry preserve as he did. "Burr, straighten barf, I suppose." The hairmaid wagged his paw. "Correct, sir. Straight into the blinkin' bath, and one whimper out of you any beast, and I'll bathe you twice." Sister Vernal lectured the miscreant severely. "Look at you. Look at the kitchen. Shame on you, rogues. Right. It's bath, bed, and no supper for you, the lot of you." Rubel rubbed his small but bulging stomach ruefully. "Us'ns couldn't manage no more victuals to be eaten, marm." Friar Gooch stamped a paw on the floor. "Don't dare talk back, you dreadful Dubbin. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Away with you, and get bad. That's unless you have anything to add, Father Abbot." Appomattox used his sternest tone. I'll see you all in the Great Hall tomorrow before breakfast. That's why I want to decide what must be done. You're all on Abbott's report. The Dummies exchanged shocked glances as they were let off, dumbstruck. Abbott's report was a very serious matter. It was only when they were safely out of earshot that Skipper broke down laughing. Do you see the little faces on them? Har har. Mem Flockery sniffed at the otter's remark. I fail to see anything funny about that, sir. The abbot tried hard to keep a straight face, but failed. That ruble, ha 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 ha. He could have stood on the table as Norman at a feast. I'll never seen any beast with that much preserve and cream on him. He looked like a little statue. Suddenly they were all laughing, even Mem. That little Mace Turfy, he will turn into a bloomin' statue with all that flour and if all that flour and water dries in him, what? Every beast had forgotten about Riggum and Binkle, who were still present. Both were quite peeving at having missed all the fun. Riggum viewed the matter sternly. They certainly very naughty beasts. If an oi were ye, zir be abbot. Oi chop 'em their tails off, broy. With a swift paw gesture, the abbot warned the others to cease their merriment. Quite right, Riggum. I hope you and Binkle never behave as badly as they have. Better go and wash your paws for tea. Binkle looked as though butter would not melt on her mouth. Ho, no, father, we very good little beast. Not never naughty like Dibbins. Never ever. When they had gone, Appomattox turned to the others. Thank you for not laughing, friends. We've got to show an example for young'uns. For our Gooch, would it be possible for you and Furl to try and arrange some tea for us? Anything will do. Gooch bobbed a small bow for the abbot. See what we can do, sir. Perhaps you'd all like to take tea in the orchard. 'Tis still a fine day. Appomattox patted the friar's paw. Splendid idea. Thank you, friend. Tea in the orchard was extremely pleasant. Gooch provided them with some of his seed cakes, thin cucumber sandwiches, and hot mint tea. Mem sat next to Melbourne Grimp, listening to the account of the crow attack. The Hare Noose poured tea for them both. Crow attack, eh? Doesn't sound half as blinking bad as the Dibbin attack we put up with back there, little rotters. Oh well, I suppose we paid to your hopes of rediscovering the old badger place. What's the name of it? Brockall? Suspect you'll never find it now, what? Melbourne blew on her tea to cool it. I'm not giving up that easy, and neither is Clinkless. Never fear, I'm thinking up a new plan already. Crows don't fly at night. The two Dubbins weren't bothered by them, and when they were lost and alone in the night in the woodlands, Crinkless was seated nearby, brightened up. Of course, that's when we'll return to search the area. Mem helped herself to an extra large slice of seed cake. Won't it be me, old lad? Indeed not. Tramping all over Mossflower hoping to find some old ruin, what? Girdle sipped tea noisily. But you're forgetting the paw ring that Dubbins found. I'll wager there's treasure aplenty to be found at Brockhall. There's something worth going to look for, ain't it? The abbot had been listening to the conversation. Pulling both paws in his wide sleeves, he leaned back against the pear tree and let the sun warm his old whiskers. Perhaps next time you can take the Dubbins along with you, armed with blackberry cream tarts. I'll wager there's not a crow alive that would turn tail at the sight of that. Formal shook his head gravely. You'm right there, sir.